Florida Governor Ron DeSantis joins me now. So, Governor, you saw that interview she did with Brett, and it doesn't look like the Democrats are that thrilled with it. What do you think happened there?
Well, her whole candidacy, they airdrop her in to replace Biden. So she's got a very limited runway. And I think the bet they made was that a combination of legacy media propping her up and then having gazillion dollars to be able to run ads would be able to mask her deficiencies. At the end of the day, this is a vapid leftist San Francisco Democrat. She is not able to sit there and answer questions, and she has a record that is more liberal than anybody else in national politics. And so I think the whole issue of the election is, were enough Americans going to see the real Kamala through the veil of the legacy media and all the different ads? And I think that interview last night, that's another example of piercing that veil, where people be able to say, hey, this is the real Kamala, and that's not somebody that should be president. I mean, just think about it. You alluded to it in your opening. She has this slogan that she wants a new beginning. She wants to turn the page. Yet she cannot name one thing that she disagrees with over the last 3.5 years. Then she has this other shtick where she talks about how she is going to save democracy and Donald Trump's a threat to democracy and our institutions. And yet, this is the person that wants to eliminate the filibuster in the Senate so they can pack the Supreme Court and eliminate the Electoral College. She's never been somebody that's cherished American institutions. So I think her whole candidacy is a fraud. I think the interview yesterday showed that. And I think more and more people have just caught on over these last few months.
You're right about the inability to answer that one basic question. The whole reason she's running is because she's not Joe Biden. Joe Biden was so bad, he wasn't allowed to run. And the only thing she can say is a difference is her gender and where she's lived recently. And in a way, that's what the Democratic Party is. It's all about identity. It's not about a new idea. They don't have any new ideas. Do you believe the Republican Party is going to be able to take advantage of this?
Oh, I hope so. I mean, I just think about her as a candidate, and you alluded to this as well. What is so wrong with her to just acknowledge that the Biden border policies have failed?
Right.
Why can't she just say that? Why can't she just say, you know what, I was involved in that, but I would do it differently now. I will do it different. Why can't she acknowledge that the Afghanistan withdrawal was a debacle and that she would do it differently? I mean, there are certain things this administration's done. Even if you're more liberal, you have to admit they've been failures. And yet she won't even acknowledge that. So I think that that's very alarming about the type of leader she would be if she can't acknowledge past mistakes. And so I think we're, as Republicans, now in a situation where people are looking at that. They don't like the direction of the country. They don't have confidence in her as a leader. And, the one thing about Donald Trump is he was president. And so people can look back and say, okay, how did Trump do on the border? Well, he obviously did much better than Biden-Harris on the border. How did Trump do on national security? He obviously did much better than Biden-Harris on national security. So they have that frame of reference. And I think ultimately that will benefit Republicans.
You're not even allowed to criticize Democrats if you're a Democrat. The only thing that keeps their status up is the fact that no one says anything mean about them. The one time you say anything negative, all hell breaks loose. And that's kind of what's starting to happen right now with her. Real quick, the cleanup situation in Florida, how's it going?
Well, we had 2 major hurricanes in the span of 2 weeks. We had to prepare and respond to Helene. We did 2.4 million power restorations in record time. Then with Milton, there was 4.2 million power knocked out, and that's been resolved. I think it's 99.9% with that. We did great search and rescue, local, state, working together. And here's the way I would put it. If you don't hear about it in national media, then obviously the response must have been good, because if we even stubbed our toe, they would be all over us. But we take a lot of pride in it. We prep. We get the job done. But I think the difference, us and some other states, we lead. We do not rely on the feds. We're happy to use federal support when it's available, but we drive the train. And I think that's why we're able to get the job done.
You're right. You've done an excellent job down there, because we're not hearing a damn thing. Governor, thank you so much. Click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You won't get it anywhere else.